Welcome back to Accessible Gourmet. Today we're making Japanese milk bread, and later on we're going to turn this into something pretty special. To start this dish, we need to weigh out 20 grams of all-purpose flour or bread flour. This is going to be for our roux, and I'll explain why later. And then to a larger bowl, we need to weigh out 270 grams of the same flour. We're using a roux for this bread because it locks in the moisture and provides extra bounce to our loaf. So over medium heat, we're adding the 20 grams of flour and half of a cup of whole milk. And we want to continually stir this and cook this until it becomes the consistency of a thick pudding, which will happen within 3 to 4 minutes. So you do have to stir this and babysit this. Once it's nicely thickened up, we're going to transfer this to a small bowl and set this aside and let it come to room temperature. For our dry ingredients, we're going to sift together 270 grams of flour, a quarter of a cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 3 tablespoons of milk powder. You can find this in the baking section of your grocery store. Once that's all sifted together, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of dry active yeast, attach a dough hook to our mixer, and start mixing this on low. Then we're going to add a quarter of a cup of warm whole milk, 1 room temperature egg, as well as our roux. We're going to let this mix for about a minute or two until it combines and forms a sticky dough. After a couple minutes, we're going to lift up our dough hook and scrape down the sides of our bowl just to reveal any of those hidden flour pockets because we want this really well combined. Turn your machine back on low and add 3 tablespoons of room temperature butter, being sure to remove the entire wrapper from your butter. Now we're going to let this run on low for 20 minutes until we get this beautiful, soft, supple dough. We're going to transfer this over to a bowl. Cover it with saran wrap or a tea towel, and let this rest for 1 hour. After it's rested for an hour, we're going to lightly flour our bench, retrieve our sleeping dough, and tip this out. You can already see how beautifully stretchy and glutinous this bread is. So just shape it into kind of a loaf shape, and then we're going to section this off into 3 pieces using our bench scraper. They don't have to be evenly sized pieces. I'll show you why in a second. And then working 1 piece at a time, we're going to just take our rolling pin and just stretch out this dough into a nice long strip. I've never made milk bread before, and this dough is so pliable and so plush. It's really a lot of fun to handle. Now we're going to just roll this up into kind of a jelly roll and set this aside while we do the same thing to the remaining 2 pieces. You can see here that first piece is definitely much larger than my other 2 pieces, but again, that's not going to matter. Once all of our little rolls are rolled up and looking wonderful and plump, we're going to take a 9x5 loaf pan. We're going to place that larger roll in the middle and the 2 smaller rolls bookending it. It looks weird right now, but once this rises again, it's going to all come together. We're going to cover this with a tea towel again and let this rest for another hour. Look at our dough, it's doubled in size, which is perfect. We're just going to give this a light brush with an egg wash. We're going to bake this in the oven at 350 degrees for 25 minutes or until it's golden brown and beautiful. Look at this loaf of bread. I'm really kind of proud of myself. It's super soft. It's very luscious and just decadent. What are we going to do with this? Well, we're going to make a Korean egg toast average Japanese milk bread. So I've just beaten up 2 eggs in a bowl and added salt and pepper. I've poured this into a non-stick skillet. You definitely want non-stick. I'll show you why in a second. Then we're going to take 2 slices of our gorgeous bread, dip it quickly on one side, and then flip it over and nestle it into our eggs, leaving a little space in the middle. We're just going to cook this just until the eggs are set. Now we're going to pray to the non-stick skillet gods and try to flip this over in one fell swoop, and I don't think I did quite a bad job. I think that's okay. Now we're going to take any of the egg that is hanging over the side of our toast and flip it up to form a little bit of a rectangle. And now you can use whatever toppings you want, but I have a little cooked bacon here, a little kimchi, because kimchi is life in my house, as well as some chopped scallions, and I'm just adding this to one side of the bread. And then to the other side, I am sprinkling on some shredded mozzarella cheese, and you may be thinking to yourself, Amy, cheese and kimchi? But yes, my friend, it's a beautiful combination. Now we're going to take our little spatula, a little help from our chopsticks, and we're going to flip this over, and we're just going to cook it for 30 seconds per side, just until that cheese melts and the rest of our eggs set completely. Not every good egg sandwich should be served in parchment paper, so that's what I'm doing here. I'm just taking a small piece of parchment and wrapping up my sandwich like a little gift to myself. And I'm taking my trusty bread knife, giving this a choppity chop in half, just so we can take a second to admire this absolutely stunning cross-section. That's what an egg sandwich should look like. The bread is pliable and soft and slightly sweet, but you get the funk from the kimchi, the saltiness from the bacon, the creaminess from the cheese, and that perfectly set egg, as well as a slight onion crunch from the scallions. This is a perfect breakfast sandwich, dinner sandwich, anytime you want sandwich, and I really hope you try to make it. But there it is, my Japanese milk bread turned into Korean egg toast. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, give it a like. If you loved it, subscribe and click the notification bell because I put out new videos every Thursday. Until next time, happy cooking.